Agile job market, Scrum Master role specifically, remains highly competitive at the start of 2018 as I'm revising this book to keep the information and advice relevant. There are still a lot of job transitioning professionals and generally job seekers who are applying for that Scrum Master job ad, all with their own unique experiences, certifications, differently formatted resumes, personal strengths and weaknesses as a potential interviewee. This book is not a Scrum guide, and its goal is far from teaching you Agile concepts and particulars of such things as Scrum framework. There are plenty of freely available resources that you should have studied to this point that would do a much better job explaining everything you need to know, saving me the time too. Instead, the main goal of this book is to increase your chances of getting hired for a Scrum Master role if you come from the street and have to deal with all the usual hoops of recruitment process, starting from the initial screening of your resume that you've applied for that job with, and finishing with suggestions on how to handle most common Agile interview questions. I'd also like to make it clear that this book is not about teaching you how to fake a facade of someone who looks like a Scrum Master, getting hired simply because they've managed to fool the recruitment process. I've met plenty of people performing certain jobs where I was wondering who hired them and how did they get there. Let's not make you one of those. What this book will help you with, however, is explaining the rights and wrongs of a good Scrum Master mindset that would lay the solid foundation for other improvements of your persona as someone ready to go get that job. The rest of helpful moves that will hopefully give you the winning edge over other applicants will come as a secondary element of what I'll be trying to teach you in the following chapters. As part of achieving that goal, there are a lot of things that we'll need to cover, but fear not, we will get through all of it in the end. It's worth pointing out that parts of this book will sound like I'm giving you too much generic context, but this is my deliberate attempt to trigger the right mental state in yourself as a potential job applicant, transitioning into a very specific job market full of certain implicit rules and unsaid expectations. You need to properly understand what those are. Key topics that we will cover. Understanding of what Scrum Master is really expected to do versus the classic definition of the role as in Scrum Guide. What are the Agile hybrid roles and why should you be familiar with how to interpret their job description as you browse through a recruitment or job-seeking website? Understanding key challenges a Scrum Master job applicant is going to face when only just transitioning into the role. This will certainly depend on your current or previous job title and how well you've presented it in your resume. How to capitalize on your current skill set, choosing the best way forward when applying for one of those Agile roles, including Scrum Master positions. What is considered to be sufficient amount of experience that you need to have and demonstrate to the recruiters before you can hope that your Scrum Master job application has chances of being successful. How to prepare your cover letter and professional resume. What to expect from Scrum Master interview. This is where we'll look at all questions that they will be likely to ask you and how to best respond to those. If nothing else, I'm certain that you'll feel like a much better prepared Agile job candidate after reading this book, listening to me, and taking some of the tips on board.